Today I'll be talking about language model fusion for streaming end-to-end speech recognition. Streaming processing of speech audio is required for many practical speech recognition tasks. Even large corpus of manual transcribed speech can cover adequately long tail of linguistic content that is important for open-ended dictation and voice search. This work seeks to address both streaming and tail recognition challenges using external language model to enhance end-to-end model. Most common end-to-end architectures are either attention-based, for example, listen, attention, and spell last, or RNT models. Standard attention-based models must inspect entire input sequence before generating outputs. Differently, RNT architecture natively predict output sequence on the fly, and it is nature choice for streaming. End-to-end models have difficulty modeling tail phenomena due to its requirement of paired speech and text data. One approach is to leverage an unpaired text with external language model. There are methods fusing end-to-end models with external language model, including shallow fusion, diffusion, and cold fusion. However, the experiments only show results with standard non-streaming attention models. The goal of these papers is to explore fusion approaches with streaming end-to-end models. In this section, we review RNN transducer model, two existing fusion approaches, and two proposed fusion ones in this paper. A RNNT model consists of an encoder, a prediction network, and a joint network. This model predicts subword or blank symbol at each time frame t. In the left figures, from bottom to the top, the encoder receives log mail filter bank energies x and outputs hidden state h encoder. The prediction network receives the last non-blank symbol and outputs the hidden state h decoder. The joint network receives the two hidden states h encoder and h decoder and outputs logic z. Subpass layer receives the logic z and predicts support symbols. Shallow fusion is an existing approach to combine RNNT and external language model. In shallow fusion, RNNT and external language model are trained independently. In this work, the language model is RNN language model, but it can also be an n-gram FST-based language model in other words. The external language model is integrated during inference. Shallow fusions log linearly combine the score of RNNT and language model before submax later, as in equation 1. And this happens during inference only. In the equation 1, beta is the interpolation weights which need to be tuned with a separate depth sets. In this work, the author proposes early shallow fusion, which is a variant of shallow fusion. The hypothesis is that prediction network is similar to a language model. Different from shallow fusions, this approach combines logic of prediction network and language model before joint network. Another existing approach is cold fusion. Different from shallow fusion, language models is used in both training RNNT and inference in cold fusion. The cold fusions introduce a DNN component, gating component, and a DNN-based projection to combine hidden state of language model and a joint network. The gating components decides when the information from external language model should be used. For example, when output symbol is non-blank, everything's are trained from scratch while keeping pre-trained language model. The author also proposed an early cold fusion, which is a variant of cold fusion. Different from cold fusion, the fusion here happens before joint network. This method combines the hidden state of language model and prediction network. In this section, the author evaluates the fusion methods on low to high resource language. The fusion methods were evaluated on Greek, Norwegian, and Sinhala. Greek has the largest training dataset, while Sinhala has the least. Training and testing data is drawn from Google's speech traffic. In the first experiment, shallow fusion is compared to cold fusion. Baseline is a vanilla RNNT. So SF stands for shallow fusion, CF stands for cold fusion. To have a similar number of parameters to cold fusion, a modified RNNT with larger prediction is explored. The LPN stands for larger prediction network. Oh, why we have a larger prediction network? Because recall the hypothesis that prediction network can be considered as a language model. So larger prediction network means larger language model inside the RNNT. In the left table, LPN, however, shows slight improvement over baseline, 0.4% relative with a rate reduction on Norwegian. Cold fusion consistently outperformed the shallow fusion according to the table. Cold fusion showed 8.5% gain, which is larger than 3.4% of Greek. This could be because RNNT model for Greek was trained with a much larger data set than Norwegian. The much larger data set covers more linguistic features. As a result, the gain brought by extra text data from the external language model was smaller. For Sinhala, both methods doesn't show noticeable gains. Their hypothesis is that the training set for Sinhala was too small, causing the model to overfit quickly. And linguistic features of language model are too different from the datasets. In second experiment, early shallow fusion is compared to early cold fusion. ESF stands for early shallow fusion, while ECF stands for early cold fusion. According to the left table, similarly to the previous experiment, Sinhala has the least gain and Norwegian has the most gain. Both early fusion methods have slightly less gain than shallow fusion and cold fusion, which suggests that fusion language model before or after joint networks produced similar results. In conclusion, this work explored two existing fusion approaches as well as two new methods. In both experiments, cofusion performs best, and the fusion point can be placed either before or after the joint network while maintaining quality gains. Thanks for your attention.